You understand almost everything now. Movies, podcasts, meetings at work. You follow along just fine. But then you open your mouth to speak and something's off. It's not that you don't know the words, it's just that when it actually matters, in an interview, in a meeting, in a real conversation with a native speaker, you freeze up. You say something and immediately think, that didn't come out right, or that doesn't sound right. Here's the thing, that gap you're feeling, it's not talent. It's not that some people are naturally good at languages and you're not. In my 20 years teaching English, I've watched thousands of students cross that exact line from intermediate to advanced. And every single time it came down to a specific, repeatable set of things they started doing differently. Not one big secret, but a combination of smaller ones stacked on top of each other. So, here's what I want you to picture in today's video. Imagine there's a safe sitting right in front of you. Inside that safe is a master document. And if you could just read it, you would instantly become an advanced, confident, fluent speaker of English. Sounds great, doesn't it? But you can't just walk up to it and open it. This safe has 3 separate padlocks on it, and each one needs its own code. Unlock just one, the door stays shut. Unlock 2 out of 3, still shut. You need all 3 unlocked at the same time before that door ever opens. Today, I'm giving you the code to each one of those 3 padlocks. Padlock 1 is your mindset. Padlock 2 is the language skills you actually use, day to day. And padlock 3 is your daily habits. By the end of this video, you will have all 3 codes in your hands. So, let's get to padlock number 1. Before we dive into it, one quick thing, because a lot of you have been asking me about this. Listen closely. I'm opening 2 brand new group coaching programs. One group built specifically for the Cambridge B2 First exam, and one group for the C1 Advanced. These are not self-paced courses. This is small, live group coaching with me, with real accountability, built-in one-on-one support, and structured exam preparation from start to finish. I'm not opening enrollment yet. Right now, I'm just gauging interest. So, if a program like this is something you would actually want to be part of, if you aim to take the Cambridge B2 First or C1 Advanced, there's a wait list in the description. Click on the link, join the wait list, and you will be the first to know the moment I open the doors with all the details sent straight to you by email. Okay? So now, let's talk about padlock number 1. Let's start with mindset, because honestly, this is the part most people skip. They want the vocabulary list, the grammar hack, the shortcut, and I get the appeal. A list feels actionable. Mindset feels kind of vague and esoteric. But let me tell a story that changed how I think about this completely. Back when I was preparing for my own Cambridge C2 exam, which is the highest level Cambridge offers, I had an experienced teacher reviewing my written work. And I remember submitting one piece, and I was completely confident about it. 100% confident about it. My punctuation was correct. The vocabulary was correct. Every single grammar structure I used was correct. Not one mistake in sight, as far as I could tell. And he came back and told me, look, Thiago, based on this piece, you will probably get a C pass on the C2 exam. Not a B, not an A. And I was really shocked because my text was 100% correct, language-wise. How could that only be a C on Cambridge C2? But then he told me something that completely changed how I look at advanced English. And it's the exact idea behind everything in this video. What matters isn't primarily the number of mistakes you make. It's the level and the range of vocabulary and grammar structures you actually attempt to use. It's far better to make a few mistakes while you're really pushing yourself trying more ambitious vocabulary, more complex structures, than to play it 100% safe with basic, straightforward language that, while technically correct, will never be considered truly advanced because it's just safe. That one piece of feedback reframed everything for me. In over 2 decades of teaching, I've watched the exact same pattern play out with my own students over and over. It's not the students with the most grammar knowledge who become advanced fastest. It's the students with the right mindset. The ones willing to make mistakes in service of more range. Those are the ones who get there, even when they started out knowing less grammar than the students around them. 3 things specifically make up that mindset. Mindset shift 1. Successful students deliberately get uncomfortable. Intermediate speakers play it safe. They stick to the words and structures they already know work. And I get it. When you're speaking a foreign language, safety feels good. Nobody wants to sound wrong, especially in front of other people. But here's what advanced speakers do instead. They push themselves on purpose every single time they open their mouth. In every conversation, they're trying something slightly outside their comfort zone, a new phrasal verb, a grammar structure they just learned yesterday, a word they're maybe 80% sure they're using correctly. They treat every conversation like a training session, not a performance. I had a student, and I won't use his name, who used to rehearse the exact same 3 sentences before every work call. Same greeting, same small talk, same closing line. It worked. It was safe. But 3 years later, he was speaking exactly as well as he had been 3 years earlier. Because safe doesn't create growth. Friction does. Here's the uncomfortable part of this lesson. If your English today sounds basically the same as it did a year ago, it's very likely because you've been having the same conversations with the same vocabulary in the same safe zone. Growth requires you to feel slightly out of your depth, on purpose, regularly. Mindset shift 2. They don't make excuses. This one is going to sting a little, so bear with me. I hear it all the time. I don't have the time. I'm just not good at languages. I would improve faster if I lived abroad. I understand where this comes from. Really, I do. Because I hear real frustration behind those words, not laziness. But here's what I've observed. Every single advanced speaker I've ever met made English a non-negotiable priority in their life, even when their circumstances were difficult. They didn't wait for the perfect conditions, for more free time, more money, a trip abroad. They made it convenient instead. They started consuming content in English that they already really enjoyed. Their favorite shows, their favorite topics, their favorite creators. Instead of just treating study time as this separate, painful chore bolted onto their day. And here's the part that matters most. When they hit a plateau, because everyone hits a plateau, this is completely normal, they did not quit. They kept going, even when progress felt completely invisible for months at a time. That persistence through the plateau is, more than anything else on this list, the single biggest predictor of who eventually becomes advanced and who gives up at intermediate forever. Mindset shift number 3. They own their communication breakdowns. Last one in this bucket, and it's a subtle one, but it matters more than people realize. When an advanced speaker says something and the other person doesn't understand them, they don't immediately blame the listener. They ask themselves, was it my pronunciation? Was it my word choice? Was there a cultural gap? Maybe a reference I missed? They treat every misunderstanding as data to learn from, not as evidence that they're bad at English, and definitely not as the other person's fault. Intermediate speakers more often get frustrated and think, this person just isn't listening to me, or they're not used to accents. Well, look, sometimes that might be true, But advanced speakers get curious instead of defensive. And that curiosity is exactly what lets them fix the actual problem instead of just feeling bad about it. So that's the mindset side. Get uncomfortable on purpose, kill the excuses, and own the breakdowns instead of blaming them on someone else. That's padlock number one, unlocked. But mindset alone doesn't get you speaking better English. There are also very specific, learnable things advanced speakers do with the language itself that intermediate speakers just don't. And that's padlock number two. This is where it gets really practical. Now, before we get into the language side of this, a quick reality check. I'm giving you this entire framework for free, right here, because I really believe it works. But let's be honest with each other for a second. Knowing that you need to push your comfort zone or that you need to build better vocabulary range is one thing. Now, actually building a system around it every single day, finding the right content at your level, tracking what you're actually improving, and getting real corrections in real time, that's a lot of manual work to keep up consistently on your own, by yourself. And that's exactly why I built the B2 Edge app, because it takes everything I'm teaching you in this video and turns it into a personalized daily protocol. My AI speaking coach adapts to your level and actually pushes you the way I've been describing. If you want that structure done for you, the link is right here in the description. Do try the app. I'm sure you're going to love it. All right, padlock one is open. Now let's go get padlock number two, because there are 5 specific, very learnable things advanced speakers do with the language itself that most intermediate learners have simply never practiced on purpose. Language skill number 1, they have range, multiple ways to say the same thing. This is probably the single biggest giveaway of an intermediate speaker. They use the same 20 words for everything in every situation. Someone asks how their weekend was. It was good. Someone asks about a meeting at work. It was good. Someone asks about a movie they just watched. It was good. Everything is either good, bad, or fine. And that's not a vocabulary size problem necessarily, because a lot of intermediate students actually know dozens of alternative words. They just don't use it in real time because those words haven't been practiced enough to become automatic. Now, an advanced speaker has range and it's automatic. Instead of happy, depending on the exact context, they might use thrilled, over the moon, or stoked. Instead of tired, they might use exhausted, drained, or even running on empty. Instead of boring, they might say tedious, dull, or if they're being dramatic, even mind-numbing. They're not using fancier words to show off. They're using more precise words because precision, not complexity, is what actually makes you sound advanced in English. And this extends beyond single words. Advanced speakers are comfortable with idioms, comfortable with phrasal verbs, not avoiding them because they feel too advanced or too risky to attempt, which is exactly what a lot of intermediate learners do. If a project needs to move faster, an intermediate speaker says, we need to work faster. An advanced speaker says, we need to speed things up. Same meaning, completely different level. Language skill number 2. They don't panic when they don't understand something. Advanced speakers get confused too. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, including native speakers themselves, who mishear things constantly in their own language. But the difference is what happens next, in that split second after confusion hits. They don't freeze. First, they use context clues to guess the meaning, the topic, the tone, the situation, instead of mentally shutting down the moment one word slips past them. And second, if they still can't find the exact word they need in the middle of a sentence, they paraphrase their way around it instead of stopping dead in silence. This is an actual skill, by the way, with a name. This is called circumlocution, which is talking your way around a word you don't know. If you forget the word recipe mid-conversation, Instead of freezing, you say something like, the instructions for how to cook something. You see, the listener understands you instantly. That's a survival skill every advanced speaker has built, almost always without realizing it's a skill at all. And it's something you can deliberately practice, even alone, by describing things you don't have the exact word for. Language skill number 3. They have more accuracy, but not because they avoid mistakes. Accuracy means how precisely you speak, how often you actually make grammar or pronunciation mistakes. And yes, advanced speakers make fewer of them than intermediate speakers do. But here's the part almost everyone misunderstands. It's not because they're more careful or scared of getting things wrong. It's because they're comfortable making mistakes. They actively learn from them. And this is the key part. They stop repeating the same one over and over. At an advanced level, you shouldn't still be making very basic, very predictable mistakes. Things like, she don't like coffee instead of she doesn't like coffee. Or I didn't went to the party instead of I didn't go to the party. The same with pronunciation, mixing up the stress patterns like saying things like comfortable instead of comfortable or development instead of development. Those kinds of mistakes should really be rare by this point in your journey because they're too basic. What you should still be making, though, are what I call smart mistakes. These mistakes happen precisely because you're reaching for new vocabulary or attempting a more complex sentence structure you haven't fully internalized yet. That kind of mistake is good because it's a sign of growth, not weakness. Now, predictable mistakes tell me a student hasn't fixed a known weak point. Smart mistakes tell me a student is actively pushing their ceiling. And I want to see the second kind, not the first. Language skill 4. They can shift into a more sophisticated register. Most of the time, day to day, we don't need fancy English. Usually casual and direct is completely fine and honestly preferable. But advanced speakers know exactly how to switch it up when the moment calls for it. A job interview, a client presentation, a formal email to someone you have never met before in your life. Take something as simple as, can we meet tomorrow? That's a perfectly fine sentence for a friend. An advanced speaker writing to a new client for the first time might upgrade that to, I was wondering if we might schedule some time to meet tomorrow, if that works on your end. You see, same request, same intention, completely different register, more formal, more polished, more appropriate for the context. That flexibility, knowing when to dress the language up, and just as important, knowing when not to, because, over formal English in a casual setting can sound just as off as under formal English in a business setting. That is something that intermediate speakers almost never do, simply because they haven't practiced switching registers on purpose, the levels of formality. Language skill 5. They have fun with the language and break the rules on purpose. Here's a quote I love from Picasso. Learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. After years of deliberate practice, advanced speakers earn the right to play with the language. They can bend grammar on purpose just to be funny, saying something intentionally wrong just for comedic effect. The way native speakers do constantly. They get sarcasm and irony and the layered jokes that rely on knowing the correct version of something in order to laugh at the incorrect version. They can catch you when a native speaker technically breaks a grammar rule and know exactly why it still works and why it's not a mistake at all in that context. That playfulness, that relaxed, confident relationship with the language, that's advanced. It's usually the very last thing to develop because it can only exist once everything else is rock solid. So that's the language side. Range, calm under pressure, accuracy without perfectionism, register flexibility, and the confidence to play. That's padlock number 2, unlocked. Now, knowing all of this is one thing. Actually practicing it out loud with real feedback telling you whether you're doing it right or wrong, that's a challenge. And that's why we need padlock number 3. Padlock number 3 is about your daily habits. This last padlock is about what advanced speakers do every single day that most intermediate learners never build into an actual habit. And honestly, this is the padlock that ties the two other ones together, because none of the mindset shifts or language skills matter if they are not backed by consistent daily practice. Habit 1. They're confident across almost every situation. Fluency isn't one fixed thing. It exists in layers, and this is something I wish more learners understood, because it would save them a lot of unnecessary frustration in the first place. What I mean is, a beginner might already be fluent introducing themselves and talking about their hobbies, like comfortably fluent in that narrow, limited context. Now, an intermediate learner might be fluent enough to travel, order food, make small talk with new friends, handle the basics of daily life abroad. What changes as you become advanced isn't that you suddenly know everything, because, nobody knows everything, but it's the number of situations you can navigate confidently. That keeps expanding, layer by layer. Now you can join meetings in English, interviews. You can engage in arguments, jokes, negotiations, even small talk with a stranger's grandmother at a party. Advanced speakers can hold a conversation without putting strain on the other person. No long, awkward pauses while they search for words. No visible struggle that makes the listener start finishing their sentences for them. That smoothness is not magic. It's the direct result of everything that we discussed previously. Those things becoming automatic through repeated use across many different situations. Habit number 2, they build their own immersion, with or without living abroad. This is the one I want to leave you with, because it's the one people use as their biggest excuse. I will be fluent if I could just move to an English-speaking country. I hear this constantly from students all over the world. But advanced speakers don't wait for that. They build immersion wherever they already are. How? They watch movies, they listen to podcasts, they read the news, they read books every single day for years, long after they are already considered advanced. This never actually stops, by the way. Even C2 level speakers I know, people who have been fluent for decades, still consume English content daily. You never graduate out of that. And here's the part that really separates advanced speakers from everyone else. They don't just consume easy, entertaining content forever and call it a day. They deliberately challenge themselves with harder material over time. TED Talks, university lectures, articles written specifically for native speakers rather than for learners, books with vocabulary that stretches them. They're not just enjoying it passively either. They're actively mining it while they consume it, noticing a new expression, catching an interesting bit of connected speech, sometimes even repeating a phrase back under their breath, just to feel it in their own mouth. This is all active practice. That combination, daily exposure, deliberately increasing the difficulty, and active rather than passive attention is, more than any single trick, what actually builds an advanced level of English over time. And look, this is exactly why I built the Fluency Hub, my community, because building this kind of immersion habit consistently is so much easier when you're not doing it completely alone. Inside the Fluency Hub, you get live conversation practice with other learners working toward the same goal in a low-pressure environment built specifically for this. Plus, you get to learn about other cultures. If the idea of practicing speaking regularly with real people and real accountability sounds like something that's been missing for you, I'll leave the link to the community as well below. Join the community and see how cool it is to meet with people every week and have real conversations with real people. All right, that's all 3 padlocks unlocked. Mindset, language skills, habits. Now, time to open the safe. And here's the thing about that master document I told you about at the beginning of the video, the one that would instantly turn you into an advanced fluent speaker. If you actually open that safe, expecting to find some magic shortcut inside, there isn't one. There never was, because the document was never a secret hidden somewhere else. It was these 10 things you just unlocked in your hands this entire time. It was all about mindset, language skills, and habits. That's it. That's the whole document. No shortcut exists that skips any of those 3 padlocks. Look, I've been teaching English for 20 years, and I've never once seen someone become truly advanced without all 3 of these. So here's the honest truth, and I want to be direct with you about this. Knowing what's inside that safe and actually using it are 2 very different things. You now have all the 3 codes. The real gap for most of you is not information anymore. You just got all of it, not only from this video, but from other videos I've made. The real gap now is a system and honest feedback on whether you're actually turning these 10 things into practice. If you're looking for my personal help more directly, I also offer a one-on-one 60-minute fluency discovery call. It's a session where I sit down with you, we assess exactly where you stand with your English, and I help you build a real specific plan for you to close your gaps. All right? So if you want to talk to me for an hour and you want me to evaluate, assess your English, link also in the description. Just book a fluency discovery call. It's going to be great to meet you and talk to you. That's pretty much all I have for you today. Don't forget to join the waitlist for the Cambridge groups I'm opening soon. So if you want to prepare for Cambridge B2 first or Cambridge C1 advanced, join the waitlist. I'm going to send you details on how you can participate in this group very soon. But link in the description. Don't waste any time because I'll be opening these groups very soon. I'm Thiago. Thank you so much for your attention today. And if you want to keep learning, I highly recommend you check out this video next. I'll see you in the next one.